Captain Kim Tae-ho walked across the bridge of the massive starship Soul's Pride. The metal floors made soft clicking sounds under his boots. Outside the thick windows, empty space stretched in all directions. Stars looked like tiny diamonds scattered on black cloth. For 3 years, Kim and his crew had been traveling through unexplored space. Their job was simple: find new planets and map unknown star systems. The Earth Colonial Authority wanted to know what was out there beyond human space. Kim's ship was one of the biggest vessels humans had ever built. It was called a Titan-class warship, though Kim preferred to think of it as an exploration vessel. The bridge was busy with activity. Crew members sat at their stations watching screens and checking instruments. The soft hum of the ship's engines filled the air. Everything seemed normal until Commander Park Ji-woo looked up from his tactical station. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings," Park said. He was a thin man with careful eyes. His fingers danced over the control panel. "There's something big out there." Kim walked over to Park's station. The screen showed a map of local space with colored dots marking different objects. Most dots were small: asteroids, gas clouds, or dead rocks floating in space. But one dot was huge and bright red. "What am I looking at?" Kim asked. "Energy signatures, sir." "Massive ones. The computer says there are artificial structures in Sector 77 Alpha. But that's impossible. Our maps show empty space there." Kim frowned. Their maps were supposed to be accurate. Earth's best scientists had spent years creating them using long-range sensors and deep space probes. If something big was out there, they should have known about it. "How big are we talking?" Kim asked. Park checked his readings again. "Sir, the structures are enormous. Some of them are larger than Earth's moon, and they're clearly artificial, too regular to be natural formations." Lieutenant Choi Min-seo turned around from the communication station. She was young but brilliant with languages and codes. "Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from that area. They're not random, there's a clear pattern to them." Kim felt his heart beat faster. Patterns meant intelligence. Intelligence meant they weren't alone in the universe. This could be the most important discovery in human history. "What kind of patterns?" he asked. Choi played the signal through the bridge speakers. Strange sounds filled the air. Not quite music, not quite speech. But underneath the alien sounds there were mathematical sequences. Prime numbers, geometric progressions, universal constants. The kind of things intelligent beings might use to show they understood the universe. "It's definitely artificial," Choi said. "Someone is trying to communicate using math. The signals are coming from multiple sources in that area." Kim looked around the bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for orders. This was the moment every space explorer dreamed of: first contact with an alien civilization. But it was also dangerous. They had no idea who or what was out there. "Set course for the signal source," Kim ordered. "But keep us at a safe distance. I want to know what we're dealing with before we get too close." The ship's navigator, Song Kyung-ho, punched coordinates into his computer. The Soul's Pride began to turn, its massive engines pushing it toward the unknown. Far away, in a different part of space, something else was happening. On a huge space station that looked like a crystal flower, alien beings were having an emergency meeting. The station was the headquarters of something called the Galactic Harmony Council. Councillor Veltaran stood before a group of strange creatures. Some looked like tall plants with glowing leaves. Others resembled giant butterflies with metallic wings. A few looked almost human but had blue skin and 4 arms. Despite their differences, they all shared one thing: they were all very worried. "The outer monitoring stations have detected something disturbing," Veltaran announced. His voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "An unknown vessel is approaching the Nexus Zone. Its energy output is unlike anything in our databases." The chamber filled with worried whispers. The Nexus Zone was supposed to be off-limits to primitive species. The Council had put it there specifically to keep dangerous civilizations away from the galactic community. Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros raised one of his 4 hands for silence. He was old even by Council standards, and his blue skin had faded to pale silver. "Show us the readings," he commanded. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed the Soul's Pride as a bright dot moving through space. Numbers and data flowed around the image like digital waterfalls. "The vessel appears to be from the Sol system," Veltaran continued. "According to our records, the inhabitants of that system should be primitive. They barely discovered fire a few thousand cycles ago. They shouldn't have space travel capability." Kethmoro studied the display with growing alarm. The readings showed a vessel of incredible size and power. Its energy signature was so strong it was interfering with their long-range sensors. "This makes no sense," muttered Counselor Rathmora, a butterfly-like being with shimmering wings. "The Sol system inhabitants are classified as Level 2, simple tool users at best. This vessel suggests Level 9 technology or higher." The chamber erupted in shocked gasps. Level 9 technology was beyond what most Council species possessed. It was the kind of power that could reshape star systems or destroy entire planets. "There must be some mistake," said another counselor. "Perhaps it's not from the Sol system. Perhaps it's from somewhere else entirely." But Veltarin shook his head. "The trajectory is clear. It came from the direction of Sol and it's heading straight for our monitoring stations. We have to assume it's from the third planet, the one they call Earth." Kethmoros felt a chill run through his ancient body. The Council had maintained galactic peace for over 800 cycles, by carefully managing contact with new species. They had protocols for everything: how to approach primitive worlds, how to slowly introduce them to galactic civilization, how to prevent panic or cultural shock. But those protocols assumed the new species would be less advanced than the Council. They had no plan for dealing with a civilization that might be more powerful than they were. "Alert the defense fleet," Kethmoros ordered. "Full defensive positioning around all critical installations. And get me Admiral Zethkara immediately." As the Council scrambled to respond to this unexpected threat, Captain Kim and his crew continued their peaceful approach toward what they hoped would be humanity's first contact with alien life. Neither side realized they were about to have the most catastrophic misunderstanding in galactic history. The Sol's Pride moved slowly through space toward the alien signals. Captain Kim stood on the bridge watching the main screen as strange structures came into view. What they saw made everyone stop talking. The alien station was huge beyond imagination. It looked like someone had built a city in space using crystal and light. Towers stretched in impossible directions, and energy flowed between them like glowing rivers. The whole thing was easily 100 times larger than the biggest space station humans had ever built. "My God," whispered Chief Engineer Lee Dongmin as he stared at his instruments. "Captain, you need to see these readings." Kim walked over to Lee's station. The engineer was a practical man who rarely got excited about anything, but now his hands were shaking as he pointed at his screen. "The gravitational readings are impossible," Lee said. "That structure isn't just big, it's actually bending space and time around itself. The mass readings don't match the visual size. It's like they're using some kind of dimensional folding technology." Dr. Yoon Hana, the ship's expert on alien cultures and ancient technology, looked up from her own instruments. She was small and quiet, but her mind was sharp as a laser. "This is incredible," she said softly. "They're not just building in 3 dimensions. They're using the 4th dimension as construction material." Kim tried to understand what that meant. Human science had theories about extra dimensions, but they were just theories. "These aliens seem to be using them like building blocks. Is it safe to approach?" Kim asked. Lee checked his readings again. "The gravitational effects are contained within about 50,000 kilometers of the main structure. As long as we stay outside that range, we should be fine." Meanwhile, inside the alien station, panic was spreading like wildfire. Admiral Zethkara of the Hegemony Navy stood in the command center, staring at tactical displays that showed the approaching human vessel. She was a tall, elegant creature with skin like polished copper and eyes that glowed with inner light. "This cannot be real," she muttered, checking the readings for the 10th time. The human ship registered as a single vessel, but its mass signature was enormous. It was like looking at a moon that had somehow learned to fly. "Admiral," called her tactical officer, "the vessel is maintaining a steady approach speed. No signs of aggressive maneuvering, but its defensive systems are active." Zethkara studied the tactical display. The human ship was surrounded by energy fields that her sensors couldn't penetrate. To her, it looked like the most advanced shielding technology she had ever seen. What she didn't know was that she was looking at the Sol's Pride standard particle shields, basic, protection against space dust and cosmic radiation that every human ship carried. "What about weapons?" she asked. "That's the problem, Admiral. We can't tell where their weapons end and their regular systems begin. The whole ship reads as one massive weapon platform." This wasn't entirely wrong. The Sol's Pride was built like all human deep space vessels, tough enough to survive anything the universe could throw at it. Its hull was made from compressed matter that could withstand asteroid impacts. Its engines put out enough energy to power a small city. Its manufacturing systems could build almost anything the crew needed. To humans, this was just good engineering. To the Council species, who built their ships to be safe and comfortable rather than tough, it looked like a weapon of mass destruction. Back on the Soul's Pride, Captain Kim was trying to make sense of the alien station's design. Communications, any response to our signals? Lieutenant Choi Min-seo shook her head. Nothing direct, Captain. But the mathematical transmissions have changed. They seem to be getting more complex, like they're trying to solve a puzzle. Kim nodded. Keep transmitting our basic math sequences. Let them know we're friendly and intelligent. What Kim didn't know was that his basic math sequences were being interpreted very differently by the alien computers. The Council had been using simple mathematics for first contact for centuries. But human mathematics was different, more aggressive, more direct. Where the Council used gentle progressions and harmonious ratios, humans used efficient algorithms and powerful computational methods. To the Council's computers, it looked like the humans were trying to hack their systems using advanced quantum mathematics. Every transmission from the Soul's Pride seemed to be probing for weaknesses in their networks. Dr. Yoon was fascinated by the alien architecture. She had spent years studying ancient ruins and lost civilizations, but this was beyond anything she had ever imagined. Captain, I'd like permission to launch some scanning drones. If we can map their construction techniques, we might learn how they manipulate dimensional space. Do it, Kim agreed, but keep the drones on passive scans only. We don't want to seem threatening. The scanning drones launched from the Soul's Pride like tiny metal birds. They were designed to study archaeological sites without damaging them. Their sensors were so sensitive they could detect molecular structures from thousands of kilometers away. Admiral Zethkara watched in horror as the human drones spread out around the station. To her tactical systems, they looked like self-replicating weapon platforms. Each drone was transmitting data back to the main ship using quantum communication links that the Council couldn't intercept or decode. Admiral, they're scanning our entire defensive perimeter, her tactical officer reported. The drones are mapping our shield generators, weapon emplacements, and structural weak points. How many drones? Zethkara asked. 50 so far, and more are launching. They seem to be building more drones as they scan. This was true in a way. The Soul's Pride's manufacturing systems were automatically producing replacement drones as needed, just as they would replace any other piece of equipment that might be lost or damaged. To humans, this was simple logistics. To the Council, it looked like an invasion force that could reproduce itself endlessly. Chief Engineer Lee was having the time of his life. The alien technology was giving his instruments readings that should have been impossible. Captain, their power generation systems are incredible. They're tapping energy directly from quantum fluctuations in empty space. Can we replicate it? Kim asked. Give me a few hours with the manufacturing bays and I might be able to build a basic prototype. Lee replied enthusiastically. This conversation was being monitored by the Council's translation systems. What they heard was the human engineer casually discussing how to copy their most advanced technology in a matter of hours, technology that had taken the Council species thousands of years to develop. Navigator Song Kyung-ho was mapping the local star system while they waited. Captain, there are dozens of other structures in this system. Some of them are even bigger than this station. I think we've found an entire alien civilization. Kim felt a thrill of excitement. This was more than first contact. They had discovered a galactic community. The possibilities for trade, cultural exchange, and scientific cooperation were endless. But on the Council station, Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros was reading reports that filled him with dread. The human vessel was not just powerful, it was apparently scouting their entire civilization. It had mapped their defenses, analyzed their technology, and was now studying their industrial capabilities. They know everything about us, Keth Moros told his advisors. They've been watching us, learning our weaknesses, preparing for conquest. What are your orders? Asked Admiral Zethkara. Keth Moros looked at the tactical displays showing the human ship surrounded by its cloud of scanning drones. Each drone was a miracle of technology that surpassed anything the Council could build. The main ship was a fortress that could probably fight their entire fleet single-handed. We tried diplomacy first, he decided, but prepare for the worst. Alert all member species. Tell them we may be facing the greatest threat in galactic history. Neither side realized that they were looking at the same situation through completely different eyes. The humans saw peaceful exploration and scientific curiosity. The Council saw military reconnaissance and preparation for war. The stage was set for a misunderstanding that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The emergency session of the Galactic Harmony Council was unlike anything in their recorded history. Representatives from 12 different species sat in the Great Chamber, all staring at the holographic display that showed the human vessel. The air was thick with tension and fear. Supreme Arbiter Kethamoros activated the central database with a gesture of his four-armed hand. "Let me explain why we are all terrified," he began, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "For 800 standard cycles, we have used a simple system to classify civilizations. Level 1 means they use basic tools. Level 2 means they have discovered fire and simple machines. Level 3 means they have basic electronics." The display showed examples of each level: primitive worlds with stone tools, planets with early industrial technology, civilizations just beginning to explore their own solar systems. Level 7 civilizations can manipulate energy and matter at the molecular level, Kethamoros continued. "Most of our council species are level 6 or 7. We thought this was the height of technological achievement." Councillor Veltaran stood up, his plant-like body rustling with agitation. "According to our old surveys, the Sol system inhabitants should be level 2 at most. They had just discovered agriculture when our scouts last checked on them. That was only a few thousand cycles ago. But this," Kethamoros gestured to the image of the Soul's Pride, "suggests level 9 technology. Perhaps even level 10. The chamber erupted in worried whispers. Most council members had never seen level 9 technology. It was theoretical, the kind of power that could reshape entire star systems or create artificial dimensions. Strategic Advisor Morthak, a being that looked like a walking crystal sculpture, activated detailed scans of the human vessel. "Look at the construction," he said, his voice ringing like bells. "The hull appears to be made from compressed neutron matter. Do you understand what that means?" Several counselors shook their heads. "Neutron matter is what you find in the core of collapsed stars," Morthak explained. "It's so dense that a single cubic centimeter weighs as much as a mountain. These humans have somehow learned to shape it like clay and use it to build spaceships." This wasn't entirely true. The Soul's Pride was built from advanced composite materials, strong and light, designed to protect the crew from radiation and impacts. But to the Council's sensors, which had never seen human engineering before, it registered as something impossible. Admiral Zeth Kara joined the discussion from her command ship. Her image appeared as a hologram in the chamber. "The vessel's weapon systems are beyond our understanding," she reported. "We cannot distinguish between their defensive systems and their weapons. The entire ship appears to be one massive weapon platform." "What kind of weapons?" asked Councillor Rathmora, her butterfly wings fluttering nervously. "Their main engines alone put out enough energy to crack a planet," Zeth Kara replied. "If they redirected that energy into a focused beam, they could destroy our entire fleet in seconds." On the Soul's Pride, Captain Kim was completely unaware of the panic he was causing. He stood in the ship's main conference room with his senior officers, planning their diplomatic approach. "We need to be careful," Kim said, looking around the table. "This is first contact. Everything we do here will be remembered for thousands of years." Dr. Yoon Hana spread her archaeological scanning data across the table's holographic display. "The alien civilization is incredibly ancient," she explained. "Some of these structures are tens of thousands of years old. They've had time to develop technologies we can barely imagine." "What about their social structure?" asked Commander Park Ji-woo. "From what I can tell, they're organized as some kind of peaceful federation," Yoon replied. "Multiple species working together, sharing resources and knowledge. It's actually quite beautiful." Navigator Song Kyung-ho was excited about the possibilities. "Think about what we could learn from them," he said. "Their dimensional manipulation technology alone could revolutionize human space travel." Chief Engineer Lee Dong-min was already sketching preliminary designs. "If we could understand how they fold space-time, we could build ships that travel anywhere in the galaxy instantly. No more years-long journeys between star systems." Kim nodded approvingly. His crew was thinking like explorers and scientists, not conquerors. This was exactly the attitude he wanted for first contact. Let's start with basic diplomatic protocols, Kim decided. We'll transmit a peaceful greeting, share some basic information about humanity, and see how they respond. But back in the council chambers, Morthak was presenting increasingly alarming analysis. Their scanning drones have mapped our entire defensive network, he reported. They know the location of every weapons platform, every shield generator, every structural weakness in our stations. How is that possible? Demanded Councillor Veltaran. Their sensor technology is at least 50 years ahead of ours, Morthak replied. These drones can see through solid matter, analyze molecular structures, and detect energy signatures we didn't even know existed. What? Morthak didn't understand was that human archaeology had driven the development of incredibly sensitive scanning equipment. Dr. Yoon's drones were designed to study ancient ruins without damaging them, which meant they could detect the faintest traces of any material or energy source. Admiral Zethkara reported more disturbing news. The human vessel has activated what appears to be a mobile shipyard. They're manufacturing additional equipment in real time. This was true. Chief Engineer Lee had activated the Soul's Pride's standard fabrication systems to build translation equipment and diplomatic gifts. Every human deep space vessel carried manufacturing capability. It was the only way to maintain and repair equipment during long journeys. But to the Council, it looked like the humans were building weapons and military equipment while pretending to be peaceful explorers. They could build an entire fleet while we're talking to them, Zethkara continued. Their manufacturing capability exceeds anything we've ever seen. Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros felt the weight of 8 centuries of galactic peace pressing down on him. The Council had survived by being cautious, by carefully managing contact with new species, by never taking unnecessary risks. But now they faced something unprecedented. A species that appeared to be more advanced than all the Council races combined. A species that had appeared without warning in the most sensitive region of Council space. What are our options? He asked his advisors. Morthak consulted his tactical computers. If we assume hostile intent, we have perhaps a 20% chance of victory if we commit our entire combined fleet. But the cost would be enormous. Millions of casualties, dozens of worlds at risk. And if we assume peaceful intent? Kethamoros asked. Then we may be about to become subjects of a new galactic empire, Morthak replied grimly. The chamber fell silent. Every council member was thinking the same thing. Their peaceful civilization might be coming to an end. Councillor Veltaran finally spoke. We have to try diplomacy first. If they wanted to destroy us, they probably could have done it already, unless they're gathering intelligence for a larger invasion, suggested Rathmora, or studying us to determine the best way to control our populations, added another councillor. Kethmoros raised his hands for silence. The decision was his to make, and he knew it would determine the fate of trillions of beings across hundreds of worlds. We attempt peaceful contact, he decided, but we do it from a position of strength. Alert all member fleets. Full military readiness across all systems. If these humans are conquerors, they'll find us prepared. On the Soul's Pride, Lieutenant Choi Minseo looked up from her communication station. Captain, I'm receiving a response to our greetings. It's complex. Kim walked over to her station. What kind of complex? Mathematical, but also something else. It's like they're trying to solve a puzzle and ask us questions at the same time. Kim smiled. That sounds promising. Begin standard first contact protocols. Let's show them that humanity comes in peace. Neither side realized that their definitions of peaceful and prepared were about to create the most dangerous misunderstanding in the history of the galaxy. The first official communication between humans and the Galactic Harmony Council began with the best of intentions from both sides. Captain Kim stood before the main communications array on the Soul's Pride, carefully reviewing his prepared speech. He wanted these first words to be perfect. This is Captain Kim Taeho of the Earth vessel Soul's Pride, he began, speaking clearly into the recorder. Greetings from the people of Earth. We come in peace, seeking friendship and understanding with all intelligent life. Lieutenant Choi Min-seo transmitted the message along with mathematical proofs, star charts, and basic information about human civilization. It seemed like a good start. On the council station, teams of expert translators worked frantically to decode the human language. Their computers had never encountered anything like it before. Human languages were direct and efficient, built for giving orders and making quick decisions. Council languages were flowing and harmonious, designed for careful discussion and consensus building. When the translation finally came through, Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros read it with growing alarm. "This is War Leader Kim Tae-ho of the Terra Conquest vessel Soul's Pride. Submission demanded from the servants of Terra. We come with force, seeking dominance and control over all inferior life." The translation was completely wrong, but the council had no way of knowing that. To them, it sounded exactly like what a conquering species would say. "They're not even trying to hide their intentions," whispered Counselor Veltaran, his plant-like body trembling with fear. Captain Kim continued his peaceful message, unaware of how it was being received. "We represent a young civilization that has recently developed faster than light travel. We hope to learn from your wisdom and share our own knowledge." The council translators heard. "We represent a warrior civilization that has recently perfected dimension-ripping technology. We intend to steal your secrets and exploit your weaknesses." Kim's next words were meant to be reassuring. "We have been exploring space beyond our home system for only 3 years. We come as students eager to understand the greater universe." But the translation that reached the council was terrifying. "We have been conquering space beyond our home system for only 3 years. We come as masters, determined to dominate the greater universe." Dr. Yoon Hana stepped forward to add her scientific perspective. "I am Dr. Yoon, a specialist in xenoarchaeology. We are fascinated by your ancient civilization and would be honored to study your cultural achievements." The council heard. "I am Dr. Yoon, a specialist in extinction archaeology. We are fascinated by your primitive civilization and will be pleased to catalog your cultural remains." The council chamber erupted in panic. Several members fainted, others began making emergency calls to their homeworlds, but the worst was yet to come. Kim began sharing basic information about humanity, thinking it would help establish trust. "We come from Earth, the third planet in our solar system," Kim explained. "It's a beautiful world with diverse climates and abundant life." The council's computers immediately accessed their databases on the Sol system. What they found made them even more terrified. Strategic Advisor. Morthak's voice shook as he read the data. "The planet they call Earth is classified in our databases as an extinction world. Surface gravity is twice the galactic standard. Atmospheric pressure would crush most council species. Radiation levels are lethal. Weather patterns include violent storms that could level cities. How can anything live there?" asked Councillor Rathmora. "According to the data, only the most dangerous predatory species survive on such worlds," Morthak replied. "And these humans consider it beautiful and diverse." Kim continued sharing information about human biology, thinking it would help the aliens understand his species better. "Humans are adaptable creatures. We can survive in many different environments, from hot deserts to frozen tundra. We're persistent problem solvers who don't give up easily." The council's xenobiology experts analyzed this information and came to horrifying conclusions. Medical advisor Keth Vila's report sent shockwaves through the chamber. "These humans are essentially living weapons," she announced. "They evolved on a death world that would kill most galactic species in minutes. Their bone density is 3 times normal galactic standard. Their muscle strength is designed to function in crushing gravity. Their endurance levels suggest they can fight for days without rest." "What about their psychology?" asked Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros. "They describe themselves as persistent and problem solvers who don't give up. In military terms, this translates to relentless and will continue fighting until total victory is achieved." Chief Medical Officer Lim Soo-jin of the Soul's Pride chose this moment to offer a gesture of goodwill. She transmitted detailed human medical data to show trust and openness. "We would be happy to share our medical knowledge," she said in her message. "Perhaps our species can learn from each other's biological adaptations." But when the Council's medical computers analyzed human physiology, they discovered capabilities that seemed impossible. They heal from injuries that would be permanently crippling to most species, reported medical advisor Keth Vila. "Their immune systems can fight off diseases that don't even exist on their world yet. Their cardiovascular systems are designed for extreme stress and combat situations." They're offering to share biological weapons technology. Morthak concluded grimly. Chief Engineer Lee Dongmin made things worse by casually mentioning human technological development. We're particularly proud of our recent breakthrough in fusion power generation, he said in his part of the transmission. We've learned to harness the same forces that power stars. The council species had spent thousands of years developing safe, clean fusion technology. It was considered one of the most dangerous and difficult technologies in the galaxy. For the humans to describe it as a recent breakthrough suggested they treated incredibly dangerous forces as simple tools. They speak of stellar-level forces like children, discussing toys, observed Counselor Velteran. Navigator Song Kyung-ho added what he thought was encouraging information about human space exploration. The Soul's Pride is one of our smaller exploration vessels. We have larger ships for colony missions and system defense. The impact of this statement on the Council cannot be overstated. The Soul's Pride was already larger and more powerful than anything in their databases. The idea that humans had bigger ships was terrifying beyond comprehension. This is not their primary warship, Admiral Zeth Kara reported to the Council with barely controlled panic. This is what they consider a small exploration vessel. Their actual military ships must be enormous. Supply Officer Yang Min-ho contributed what he thought was harmless background information. Humans have been spacefaring for about 60 years now. We've established colonies on several worlds, and are always looking for new places to settle. The Council heard this as confirmation of their worst fears. The humans were an expansionist empire that had been conquering worlds for decades. They're admitting to 60 years of military expansion, Morthak pointed out. Multiple conquered worlds. They're telling us they're an established galactic power. Captain Kim concluded his message with what he thought was a reassuring statement. We hope this meeting will be the beginning of a long and peaceful relationship between our civilizations. But the Council's translation computers, struggling with human linguistic concepts, rendered this as, "We expect this encounter will mark the beginning of your long and peaceful submission to our civilizations." Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros looked around the chamber at his terrified colleagues. Everything the humans had said confirmed their status as the most dangerous species the Council had ever encountered. They were death-world predators with impossible technology, led by military commanders who spoke casually of stellar-level forces and galactic conquest. Emergency protocols, he announced. Alert all member species. Full military mobilization. If we're going to survive this encounter, we need every ship and every weapon we can muster. On the Soul's Pride, Captain Kim was pleased with how the first contact was going. The aliens had responded to their message with what seemed to be complex mathematical acknowledgments. Lieutenant Choi was working on decoding their reply. It looks like they're interested in establishing formal diplomatic relations, she reported. They're sending what appears to be a welcome message along with information about their governmental structure. Kim smiled. Excellent. Begin preparing our formal diplomatic protocols, and have Dr. Yoon prepare a cultural gift exchange program. Let's show them the best of human civilization. Neither side realized they were preparing for completely different outcomes. The humans were organizing a peaceful cultural exchange. The Council was preparing for the fight of their lives, against what they believed to be the most dangerous military force in galactic history. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the foundations of known space. All because of a simple translation error and fundamental differences in how two very different civilizations understood the universe. The crisis reached its breaking point when Captain Kim decided to demonstrate human peaceful intentions in the most direct way possible. He had been growing frustrated with the aliens' continued defensive posture and wanted to show them that humans truly meant no harm. All stations, prepare for peaceful demonstration protocol, Kim announced on the bridge. I want to show these aliens that we trust them completely. Commander Park Ji-woo looked concerned. Captain, are you sure about this? We still don't fully understand their intentions. That's exactly why we need to do this, Kim replied firmly. If we want them to trust us, we have to trust them first. Lower all defensive screens and power down all weapon systems. I want them to see that we're completely vulnerable. Chief Engineer Lee Dong-min hesitated at his station. Sir, that will leave us defenseless. If they decide to attack, they won't, Kim said confidently. Look at their architecture, their careful approach, their mathematical communications. These are peaceful beings. We need to show them we understand that. The Soul's Pride slowly powered down its defensive systems. The particle shields that protected it from cosmic radiation flickered and died. The weapon systems that had never been intended for use against living beings went offline. The massive ship hung in space, completely exposed and vulnerable. On the Council station, Admiral Zethkara watched this development with absolute horror. Her tactical displays showed the human vessel dropping all defensive measures while surrounded by the entire Council fleet. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No commander would leave their ship defenseless, unless they're so confident in their power that they don't consider us a threat," finished her tactical officer. The Council interpreted Kim's gesture of trust as the ultimate display of superiority. To them, it looked like a predator so powerful it could afford to appear defenseless while surrounded by enemies. Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros received Zethkara's report and felt his ancient heart skip several beats. "They're showing us that our entire fleet is meaningless to them. They can destroy us at any moment, and they want us to know it." But Dr. Yoon Hana was watching the alien response patterns with growing concern. As a xenoarchaeologist, she was trained to understand alien cultures and behaviors. Something about the Council's reactions wasn't making sense. "Captain," she called from her station, "I think there might be a communication problem." Kim walked over to her workstation. "What kind of problem?" "Look at these response patterns," Yoon said, showing him her analysis. "Every time we make what we consider a peaceful gesture, their energy readings spike. They're showing classic signs of fear behavior." "Fear? Of us?" "Think about it from their perspective," Yoon continued. "We appeared out of nowhere in their space with a ship they can't understand, using technology that doesn't match their databases. What if they think we're threatening them?" Kim felt a cold realization wash over him. "You think they're afraid of us?" "I think they're terrified of us," Yoon replied. "Look at their fleet positioning. It's purely defensive. They're not trying to attack us. They're trying to protect themselves from what they think we might do." Lieutenant Choi Min-seo looked up from her communication station with a worried expression. "Captain, I've been analyzing their language patterns. I think our translation systems might be completely wrong." "Show me," Kim ordered. Choi brought up side-by-side comparisons of human and alien communication structures. "Their language is based on harmonics and consensus building. Ours is direct and action-oriented. When we say we come in peace, their computers might be hearing something completely different." Dr. Yoon was already working on a solution. "We need to try a completely different approach. Instead of telling them we're peaceful, we need to show them what peaceful actually means to humans." She began preparing a new kind of transmission, not words or mathematics, but images and sounds from Earth, children playing in parks, artists creating beautiful paintings, musicians making harmony, farmers growing food to feed their families, scientists working together to understand the universe. "This is what humanity really is," she said as she compiled the cultural package. "Not warriors or conquerors, just people trying to live, learn, and grow." The transmission went out from the Soul's Pride to the Council station. For the first time, the aliens saw Earth not as a death world but as a home. They saw humans not as predatory monsters but as parents, teachers, artists, and dreamers. In the Council chamber, the mood began to change as the real nature of humanity became clear. The images showed beings who built gardens instead of fortresses, who made music instead of weapons, who reached for the stars not to conquer them but to understand them. Counselor Veltaran was the first to speak. These are not conquerors. They're explorers, scientists. They're like us." Medical advisor Keth Vila reviewed the cultural data with growing amazement. "Their death world isn't a military training ground. It's just their home. They evolved there naturally. What we see as impossible survival skills, they see as normal life." Strategic advisor Morthak recalibrated his analysis of human technology. "Their ship isn't a weapon platform. It's built for long-term space exploration. Everything we interpreted as weapon systems are actually life support and research equipment." Supreme Arbiter Keth Moros felt 800 years of diplomatic experience finally click into place. "We've been looking at them through our own fears instead of trying to understand who they really are." The breakthrough came when Dr. Yoon transmitted detailed explanations of human space technology. She showed how the Soul's Pride's impossible construction was simply practical engineering for deep space survival. The compressed matter hull wasn't neutron star material, it was advanced composites designed to protect human lives during decades-long journeys. The reality warping drives were just scaled-up versions of conventional engines, built large because humans needed to carry everything they might need for years of exploration. The unlimited manufacturing capability was basic fabrication technology that every human ship needed to maintain and repair itself far from home. They're not showing off their power, Kethamoros realized. They're sharing their knowledge because they want to be friends. Admiral Zeth Kara was reviewing the tactical data with new understanding. When they lowered their defenses, they weren't showing superiority. They were showing trust. They made themselves vulnerable because they believed we wouldn't hurt them. The Council's fear began transforming into something else: embarrassment. They had almost started a war with a peaceful species simply because they didn't understand each other. Captain Kim received a new transmission from the Council, this one carefully crafted using improved translation protocols. The message was simple: we apologize for our misunderstanding. We welcome the people of Earth to the galactic community. We have much to learn from each other. Kim smiled as he read the message. That's more like it. Choi send our acceptance of their welcome, and invite them to send a diplomatic team aboard our ship. The first face-to-face meeting between humans and Council representatives took place 3 days later in the Soul's Pride's main conference room. The aliens were fascinated by human casualness, the way Kim offered them coffee, how Dr. Yoon shared her archaeological findings like an excited student, how Chief Engineer Lee proudly showed off the ship's fabrication systems. Supreme Arbiter Kethamoros, attending the meeting via hologram, found himself laughing at the situation. Captain Kim, I must confess something. When we first detected your ship, we thought you were the most dangerous military force in galactic history. Kim nearly choked on his coffee. Dangerous? The Soul's Pride? We're explorers, not soldiers. We know that now, Kethamoros replied. But your ship's capabilities, they're beyond what most of our species can achieve. You build things that shouldn't be possible. Dr. Yoon leaned forward with scientific curiosity. What did you think was impossible? Your hull materials can withstand asteroid impacts. Your engines output enough power to supply our entire station. Your manufacturing systems can build complex technology from basic materials. To us, it looked like magic. Chief Engineer Lee scratched his head in confusion. But that's just basic space travel requirements. You can't explore deep space without good hull armor, powerful engines, and fabrication capability. How do your ships manage without them? We don't explore deep space, admitted Counselor Veltarin. We build our ships for comfort and safety in well-known systems. The idea of traveling for years through unknown space, far from any support, it never occurred to us to try. Captain Kim began to understand the scope of the misunderstanding, so when we showed up with what we consider basic exploration equipment, we thought you were an unstoppable military force. Kethamoros finished. We've been so focused on building peaceful, comfortable civilizations that we forgot there might be species who built things to survive in the harsh universe itself. The cultural exchange that followed transformed both civilizations. Humans gained access to the Council's advanced mathematics, energy manipulation techniques, and dimensional folding technology. The Council species learned human impossible engineering, the art of building things that worked even when they shouldn't, the philosophy of making every system redundant and reliable.